Dave Katz.
I'm Mikey Dobbs.
And I'm Carmen Butler.
And this is
the ATL On Fire podcast show.
Oh, the madness of it all.
So, Dave, let's just rein it in for a second.
Okay.
Where are we going with this podcast?
I don't know. Where are we going with the season?
I don't know. It's going to be, well, first off, let's did you guys look at the athletic editors and where they thought Atlanta United would stack up in the East?
We were ranked anywhere from second to, I think, 12th
or 13th. Yeah.
So nobody has any idea. And I think
but what was more telling was the majority actually was on the bottom half. Like the average, if you looked at the average was clearly like 7th or 8th in Eastern Conference, and that's just eyeballing it out of all the editors. Which is
when you have some people willing to put us second. And in fact, I think somebody picked us for the Supporter Shield even. But anyway, if you have people willing to pick you second, that means on paper you have talent.
Yeah.
Right. But the fact that there are other people picking us as 13th means they have no confidence in the coach's ability to take that talent.
So I found that to be a little bit of credibility to our point of view here, that the editors from The Athletic had that same lens on it.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's going to be a long season. We knew it. I think Pineda is only going to be able to get bailed out so many times, though, by last-minute wonders like that. And frankly, I think the frustration of the fans, if you see the quality of soccer not coming to fruition, and that's the more important thing. I don't think the 17s are going to care if it's an exciting brand of soccer, but I don't know. You were there. I was watching on Apple TV. It did not look like a fun game. Carmen was falling asleep.
The number of times out on the counter in the first half that San Jose so easily got a numbers advantage, 4v2, 3v2, 4v3, right? I mean, and they're just really bad. They couldn't take advantage of it. A couple of times they should have scored. I mean, they were sitters, right? I mean, a good team would have been gone and home 4-0. I mean, it would have been 4-0 in that first half. Right. And that to me is not, I mean, sometimes you get unlucky in a game, you play, well defensively. Right. Sometimes you get a little lucky. All these things happen. Right. But you cannot give up such easy chances with people to run at you, especially against a team like that. That's terrible. I mean, and San Jose looked really bad to me. Yeah. I mean, they, hopefully they'll get better, I guess, for them. But
if we were to, I mean, I think this is my painful prediction, though, is that once we get Etienne starting, once Abram is starting, once Giacomakis is starting, that this team is going to be able to drag itself forward to 6th or 7th in the table, despite everything that you and I are just calling out. And does that afford the rope to continue to be allowed?
Yeah, I mean, like if we just sneak in the playoffs, is that good enough?
Yeah. But
you got 9 teams making the playoffs this year.
And also a very imbalanced season. Like, the fact that it's going to have like a win, a loss, a draw, a loss, a win, a draw, a loss, and then a win. Like that's how I could see the season going, very much like we saw in stints last year.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there's different kinds of 6th or 7th place performances, right? If you're looking like you're dominating games and not giving up silly chances, and it's pretty close, maybe. But, if there's sometimes when you play against a good team and suddenly you lose 4-5-0, that's not good.
Yeah.
Right. Because that means in those cases, you literally have no chance. And then the other thing is you say, all right, that's the craziness of Pineda's tactics, that we give up stupid counterattack goals all the time. That's his MO. But if you can score goals and,
did it look like we could score goals in that game?
No, but he would say, okay, he didn't have Giacomakis. I don't know how Giacomakis changes that because it's not like we had any real.
It's not like Jackson
chances.
Conway got
No.
any like as much as I want
He
to
didn't
give
really
that
touch the ball.
didn't really touch the ball, but he also
No.
didn't have any service. There was I don't know what was going on with why even have a striker there.
And do we have any sense what type of striker that Papa Giorgio it actually is? Like, is he like somebody who's coming in on crosses? Are we playing through balls? Is he checking? What
He
type
can
of
do a
striker
little
is
bit
he?
of it all, right?
Okay.
He's he can head a goal, he can get behind. He's not so fast that that's his lightning thing, but he's strong. He's got a little bit of it all. He's sort
Okay.
of like a much better version of Dom Dwyer kind of thing,
Okay. Okay. I'll take that.
Yeah, he seems to be able to have good timing of streaking into the box. More than anything, I think he's what I see from the limited highlights is he's got composure
Okay.
to just know how to slow things down
and attitude, I should point out.
and attitude, right? But so it's a little bit of the attitude, right? Like you have to believe you're going to score. That guy believes he can score. And so it's a little bit of that combined with some composure and the commitment to just find the back of the net. And
Okay.
so I think he will. I
So
think
can he make us good? Or are y'all saying no matter what he does, our coaching is going to tank us?
No, I mean he can make
No.
us good because in a game where you don't play well, right? If you have an Araujo takes on a guy, or an Amato or a Wiley takes on a guy, gets a decent opportunity, gets a service in, then he goes and scores it against the run and play, and you're still in the game. So that can happen. And I think that's what Mikey Dobbs is sort of getting at.
Yeah.
That is it just enough so that we occasionally do, just enough.
Yeah. I think that's exactly what's going to happen.
Okay.
I believe in the talent of Giacomakis and some of these other folks. I think there was good player selection. I think that they're going to grind through a really long season to end up in a so-so position.
And I would say, as bad as I would obviously didn't like the tactics and the pinching in, and it cost us stupidly in this game, right? But I do like the fact that more times than last season we had at least 3 guys back. So I think Gutman and either Abram or Parata, along with Miles Robinson, when they're 3 in the back, not only can they sometimes take care of
Sort
it,
it out. Yeah.
but it also means we do have a shot at maybe turning the ball over sometimes in the midfield. And, that only has to happen once in a while to get an extra goal. If we get an extra goal occasionally out of Giacomakis, we get an extra goal out of occasionally Sosa turns it over and gives us a good chance.
And the other question I have, Dave, so just being optimistic here, right? Let's say everybody stays healthy.
Yeah.
And we have Sosa back, right? It does seem like, yeah, Lennon is like a chicken with his head cut off with the right. He's just doing what is commanded of him to go up the right side. Outside of that, there's a lot of soccer IQ on the field, though, right? So can they sort it out themselves is what I'm getting at.
No, because when the coach is telling you those sort of tactics and you're starting there, it's impossible to sort out. I mean, you could see it, you cannot sort out on a counterattack like Parada and Robinson and whatever we're doing, right? You cannot sort that out on the fly. It's just too much, right? I just don't think that you can do that.
Okay.
I don't think that will work.
I'm trying to be optimistic here.
I like it though. I'm appreciating your optimism, Mikey Dobbs.
I'm still pretty pessimistic. I just feel like it's so killing us, because I also think that you pointed out in one of the previous previews that we did that if Araujo becomes grumpy because he's doing bar, the team's done.
Yeah.
Right. And if Brooks Lennon is running into his space all the time, Araujo is going to be grumpy.
He'll be grumpy by game 4.
Easy.
Yeah.
If this continues.
I mean,
even with ties and wins and him being in the position where he can't pick it up just at midfield and just attack people. Like, why can't we put him in that position?
I don't want to even say it because it's terrible, and I would never, ever, ever, ever wish for anything like this. But there's occasional moments where a player gets an injury. If Lennon gets a knock, even for a game, and he puts in Hernandez and it unleashes everything, then sometimes it can fix itself.
Yeah.
Right. That's the answer. is stop doing
So
that.
there's some people, and look, we haven't seen a ton of Hernandez. I've seen
Mhm.
enough to feel like he's a better defender than Lennon.
Even if he's not, he'll stay back.
Yeah. Even if he's not, he'll stay
Even
back.
honestly, if Lennon was staying back, it would be way better than what
Correct.
it is.
Exactly. It's a matter of just stay back.
Yeah. And the other thing that I wanted to point out when you were talking about vis-a-vis last season, the other thing that if there was one change, if you did all the things that we did tactically, Pineda still would have made the playoffs, in my opinion, last year if he had never played Rios Novo. He gave up
Oh,
so many goals in the
I
middle of
agree.
that year. So that's another plus. You know, if you look,
That's true.
this team versus last team wins above replacement. Any goalkeeper on Rios Novo is, I mean, that's probably good for 3 wins.
Yeah.
Good point.
So if you take 3
But-
wins from last year's team, I mean, maybe
Yeah.
Carmen, you can look this up. I think we were a playoff team if we had 3 additional wins.
I know.
I think that's right. Yeah.
And again, we wouldn't have thought last year we would have made the top 3 or even 4, but to finish 10th, like that was our point when we were talking to Nick, and I had to clarify that over text with him in our interview. It's like, look, I don't think that Dave and I ever expected us to be an MLS Cup champion with all the injuries. Like that is enough of an injury bug. Like there's enough things that happened in the season. We're like, yeah, we probably weren't going to win the MLS Cup, but why shouldn't we been up there pushing for 4th in the table? I think that we should have been in that range, right? I think that's the takeaway.
Oh yeah, you
So
just
where
rolled it up. I think we would have been 5th, 49. If we go from 40 points to 49,
yeah,
would have been 5th. So
there we go.
To be honest with you, Rios Novo.
And 5th would have, like, it wouldn't have been great, but I would have been like, okay, I can.
And
I'll stop complaining.
I've said this a number of times, when I've been watching other teams, I'm like, all these other teams can't be doing this, but there are some other teams that are doing the same stupid tactics that we are and getting burned from it too, right? There's a lot of mediocrity in the MLS. So it's not that hard. If you do the same stupid stuff as most of the teams, we have a better team. Right. So, I mean, this is not what should happen, right? But not what we should hope for. But if you do the same, if you have equally mediocre coaching, then we should finish a little bit above, right?
Yeah.
Because I do think, again, the roster is excellent.